This is me just hanging out there again. I don't know what happened. You get them? Well, I think lots of people are taking it out and then.
We're just going to wait for a few minutes. Annie's parents will just be a few minutes, and we'll just wait for them.
Yeah. Yes, I got the
Yes. The subliminal message was second verse is filled with we just finished. That's pretty I said if their reputation is successful, there will of course be their purpose. If you want to take it's not successful, you still will.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Lincoln Council to order and welcome everyone here in the gallery and those that will. Kojiko, thank you. We welcome you as well for being interested in our local government. All councillors are No, all councillors are not present tonight. We are missing Councillor Brunet and Councillor Thompson, who would be sitting in these empty chairs. However, we have Councillor Timmers and Councillor Foster on my right. We have Councillor McMillan, Councillor Pachariva, Councillor Njima, and Councillor McPherson. On my left is Mike Krikopoulos, the CAO, and we have the Deputy Clerk, Gary Del Bianco. In the back row, we have first Greg Hudson, Fire Chief, and Bill Blake, the Deputy Chief. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I'm reiterating an interest that I declared at the Finance and Administration Committee regarding the purchase of a Ford vehicle because my husband is employed by Ford of Canada.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special presentation tonight, and these kinds of things only happen once in a little while. And so we're very pleased to have Annie Berg and her mom and dad, Bill and Wendy, here, and to honor the work that she did with Team Canada, the under-18 women's hockey team, in winning the silver medal. So I have a few things for Annie. So Annie, if you would come up and stand in front here, and I'll come around. Just get my notes out here because I don't want to forget. So turn around, Annie. Let's see that famous 23 that we were always looking for throughout the game. And I was doing a little bit of research on you, and I found out that you were actually part of the Preston team.
Yep.
And you were number 10, so you advanced to number 23. Annie, you have a strength of purpose. You have determination, and you obviously have the desire to win. And these are all very good qualities. You're an excellent role model for young people in this community, both boys and girls. And I'm sure that I'm sure that all of this excitement will settle in at some point, but we hope not too soon, because we think about you often and what you've accomplished and what we get to enjoy vicariously. So thank you very much for that. I want to acknowledge Bill and Wendy. Young people like Annie don't get where they are without a lot of family support. And she's learned her determination and her stamina from her mother and father. She learned it from her dad because he was in the NHL. And so we want to honor Bill tonight, too, because I don't know if anybody in town ever said, thanks, Bill. So we're thanking you, too. And Wendy, you obviously are a good, strong role model for your daughter, and that's what we need in this community, more and more of that. So we certainly appreciate that. And I want to honor Annie's coaches tonight, because when I go on Saturday morning to the arena, there's 100 little kids on the ice, and there's probably about 30 coaches. And I'm wondering sometimes, where do these coaches come from? And they're just all the regular guys like Paul McPherson and J.D. Pachariva and Rob Foster, and I'm not sure who all else, but we have a lot of people in this town that coach. And these young people just don't advance without that kind of encouragement and commitment from the adults in the community. So I really thank the coaches as well. Annie signed 2 jerseys. Where is this jersey? Mike's going to hold the jersey up. So she signed the jerseys, and we're going to be putting the jersey eventually in a case at the Fleming Center. And we thank you very much for that. Now, I have two gifts, now that we've given you all these wonderful accolades and embarrassed the daylights out of you. We have this lovely certificate. And I mean lovely because it is very unique. It has the seals of the Corporation of the Township of Louth, the Town of Beamsville, and the Township of Clinton. And I think it's really quite lovely, and I hope that that's something that your parents will have framed for you, and you can put that on your wall.
Thank you.
And because we also want you to leave feeling like you are the Queen of Lincoln. We have these beautiful flowers for you. And they kind of look like Canadian flags. So congratulations, Annie. You've done us all proud.
Thank you.
Flowers in your left hand like you're doing, and each hold the top corner of the jersey. Moving behind hand, moving behind of it.
Yeah, so if the councillors would come back here and hold the flag, that would be great. Beg your pardon? Oh, yes, we want the councillors. But then we can do, and I want Dr. Lightstone to come down for just when we're done taking the photograph.
Just
Okay.
tuck yourself half in.
Okay?
Pull that up a bit. Just move it that way a bit, Annie, because I want to see your other jersey too.
Okay.
How's that?
So that's good. Yeah, that looks good. Shoot a couple here. Let's zoom in on you.
Oh, boy.
Up close and personal. Yeah, sorry, one sec.
Okay?
One, two, three. I'll do one more. Perfect, thank you.
Good, thank you. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Jack Lightstone, the president of Brock University, to come down. It just happened that Dr. Lightstone and his team were coming tonight to tell us what's up at Brock. So I would really like to have him come up as well and say a few words, because people may or may not know that, that Annie's going to be going to Brock next year. Go ahead, Dr. Lightstone.
Good to see you again.
Long time no see.
Well, Annie, enjoy all the accolades. You really deserve it. We're so proud of you here in Niagara, and of course, we at Brock are very proud to have you joining us. I know that at Brock, we will do everything to give you the finest education possible, as well as to help you develop as an elite athlete. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Lightstone. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Well, there you go, my dear. Okay, thank you. Well, let me take these. I'll give them to your mothers, and you may want to go around and just shake hands with all the counselors, and then they can say that they crossed paths with you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Hey.
I was at all of the games down there, and you were terrific, so I really enjoyed watching it, so.
It was amazing to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah. My pleasure.
Thank you. Hey.
Crash nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, if all meetings could be such fun, right?
Infrastructure.
The next item on the agenda is the minutes of the council's regular meeting of January the 18th. I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Timmers, that the minutes of the January 18th, 2016 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. Are there any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes of January 18th? There being none? Bye, Annie, thank you. We'll move on to the mayor's report, and it's very short this evening, but very, very important. On Saturday last, I was invited to attend a breakfast at Jordan Christian School, which is located in the old Jordan Station public school. And that school was built in 1886, and it was school section number 2. In 1982, the School Board of Niagara, District School Board of Niagara, divested themselves of the school, and it was purchased by one of the Reformed churches. They had taken the date stone off the school when Gladys Huffman, who was the first woman mayor of Lincoln, was sitting in this seat. And they gave the pieces of it over to the Jordan Historical Museum of the 20. I don't know whether they were motivated by what went on in Vineland, but they may have been when they saw the rotunda there with the facade of the Vineland School, Vineland Public School. However, they brought this piece back, this stone back, and I'm sorry that I don't have a piece for up there, but I think we've already sent it to Councillor Rinjima to be put up on the Facebook page. So in 1982, the stone was then donated to the Historical Society. It was loaned to Jordan Christian School for their 25th anniversary in 2009. And then it was given to the school on condition that they put it on permanent indoor display. This isn't exactly something that would lend itself very well to the size of our museum at the moment. And it's much more meaningful where it is. So at any rate, the principal, Mark Fintelman, and I unveiled this on Saturday. It's on the north exterior wall to the last edition of the public school, which was done in 1955. And there's also other historical items that are there for review. And I want to mention this tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because even though we have a heritage committee and even though we have members of council who are very interested in preserving our history in Lincoln, the school board decided that they would do this on their own, at their own expense. So I'm going to give these two pieces to Councillor McMillan and to Councillor Timmers because they represent the town of Lincoln on the Heritage Committee. And I think this is something that maybe the Heritage Committee might want to look into a little bit further. And at any rate, that's I feel that was a very important piece of historic information that I should share with you. There is no regional councillors report tonight, and I will go around the horseshoe to see who of the councillors have councillor reports. And I'll start with you, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I do have a short report. I did last Thursday attend a meeting hosted by the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority at Balls Falls, and the topic was biodiversity offsetting. And I really went there just to sort of become more familiar with what biodiversity offsetting is and how it affects us. Which is basically, for those that don't know, it's basically taking wetlands that are lost through development and offsetting them, putting them somewhere else. And there's a whole a lot of issues around that. The meeting that was very, very well attended. In fact, it was standing room only. There was probably in excess of 250 people there. The intent of the meeting was to, for the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority to share information around biodiversity, and they had their whole staff there, and they were going through various presentations. The group there that was in attendance was really not in favor. There was many different groups represented, and generally there was pushback around the idea of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority being a beta site for the province doing biodiversity offsetting. So interesting meeting, and I think it's one that we want to keep our eyes on, and what the MPCA is doing with this biodiversity offsetting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Yes, I do have a report. Today was our Chamber of Commerce meeting, and one of the interesting things that we talked about was the getting a business directory going. We recognize that it would be a benefit to both the Chamber and to the town of Lincoln. So what we've done is struck up a small subcommittee, and we're going to get together and talk about what a business directory would look like, the benefits of it, how we could get it done, who would be involved in getting that business directory put together, and how to maintain it in the long run. So I'll be reporting on that in the future. Thank you.
Business directory is something that would be very valuable to
Great, and
other people as well.
yeah, the benefits are clear, and that came out of the meeting tonight. It's a lot of work, but those that I've spoken to that do have a business director going are very glad that they have it for a lot of good reasons.
Thanks, Your Worship. I've attended 2 meetings thus far on the Niagara Investment and Culture Adjudication Committee. I'm part of that, so we're going through the 30 proposals submitted throughout the region for funding for the investment and culture through the region. Unfortunately, there isn't any from the town of Lincoln this time around, but hopefully there'll be some next year. We've had 2 meetings and have went through the proposals, and we all graded them on a scale of 1 to 100, and then after some thorough dialogue, we're given another sheet and we're supposed to rank them in order from 1 to 30. So we've got a meeting on Thursday night to then further go through and flush that out.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Last Friday evening on the 29th, there was your remarks earlier about the history of our town and Jordan Station Public School leads directly into what happened on Friday night because this was at the museum, and you were there yourself, Your Worship, and Councillor Timmers and Councillor Renjima and myself were there as well, and we were there for the opening of a new exhibit at the museum, and it had this exhibit has been created to celebrate the partnership of the museum and the Lamplighter Tours and the Lamplighter organization within town, and also the creators of and the sponsors of this Lamplighters, which is the Rotary Club of Lincoln. So that exhibit is in the museum now, and it is there until mid-March, I believe. And so I encourage everyone in town and out of town to go and have a look at the exhibit that's been put together to highlight that Lamplighter tour that has been going on for many years in town and will continue to go on as well. The other thing that occurred at that meeting was the announcement of the special one-act play that is being put together, and it will be on the 5th of March. It will take place in the schoolhouse on the museum site, and the theme of that special one-act play will be the Lamplighters in Lincoln. So we're looking forward to that. And anyone that is interested in going, there are tickets on sale for that special one-act play at the schoolhouse. They're $5. There isn't that much room in the schoolhouse, so if anyone is interested, they should get on it right away and call the museum and get the tickets, and the seats will be assigned, so and I'm sure they're going to go very, very quickly. So we're looking forward to that as well, and it, as I say, it led right into or right after what you had to say about the Jordan School. So that was an exciting evening, a good time. Thank you.
Very good. And I must say that I think this is where the Brock School of Fine Arts gets that's the feeder system for the Brock School of Fine Arts quite often, and there's a lot of adults in there who are using their talents that they learned in the degree program, and also the Performing Arts Center. I think it really gives people a lot of encouragement now that we have those facilities. The Lamplighters is quite a unique artistic facility within our town, and it certainly should be supported. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. 2 things. Since our last council meeting, Councillor Jim and I had a ward meeting at the Fleming Centre on the 21st. We had I would say about 20 people showed up, which was a nice turnout for our meeting. Not a big surprise on the items that came up. A lot of interest in OMB decisions within the municipality, interest in parking within the Lincoln Square area. One of the more surprising ones that did come up for us was a lot of interest in work around parks and around beautification within the town. So a number of items have come from that, and we have basically put those back through, and we're going to be talking about more of that at the various committees that either Councillor Regime and I attend. Second thing is this upcoming Friday, we're doing a meeting with the OSUM executive. I was very fortunate to be put onto the OSUM board back a number of years ago and have been supported by council. This is the Small Urban Municipalities of Ontario meeting. We're going to get an opportunity to talk with a variety of mayors and councillors from across Ontario on Friday evening, get to talk about some of the issues that we have, some of the issues they have. As well, we're going to have Mike Williscraft, who's there on behalf of the Chamber, and also Sue-Ann staff on behalf of 20 Valley Tourism to talk about some of the things within our municipality as well. So I'm quite looking forward to that, and I think it's a good opportunity for us as a council to, again, broad brush and talk outside of our own little realm of what's going on within the province. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. And I know this has taken some considerable amount of your time, but I think your leadership is very important, and we're very, very pleased to be hosting this event. Councillor Timmers?
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I have one event that I wanted to talk about tonight. I will be participating in the Coldest Night of the Year walk. There are over 100 municipalities all across Canada that will be participating in this, and I'm going to be walking on team for Community Care of West Niagara. I just want to kind of encourage people in Lincoln to come out. It's a really fun event. It's for a great cause. We'll be raising funds to help the hungry, the homeless, and the hurting. And it's a very good event to get involved in. It'll be a lot of fun as well. So that's happening on February 20th. And you can find more information on www.coldestnightoftheyear.org/Lincoln. Thank you.
Very good. I guess I'll be there with you with a warm coat on. Thank you very much. All right, delegations. Dr. Lightstone, and if you would mind coming up with your team. We'll get... Deputy Clerk will get you another chair. I take it the microphone is on? It is. It's on. Yes, thank you.
Your Worship, councillors, good evening, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to bring greetings from Brock University to our friends and partners here in Lincoln. I want to take a few minutes to update you on the developments at the university and also to talk about the importance of Brock's relationship with our host communities all across Niagara. From the very start, even before it had a name, Brock University had the DNA of Niagara in its blood. In the 1950s, Flora Egerter and the Allenberg Women's Institute petitioned the Ontario government to approve creating a university here in Niagara so that young people could get an education without leaving the region, particularly young people of the factory workers and farmers who did not have the means to send their children out of the region for higher education. Let's say that their petition received only muted enthusiasm at Queen's Park at the time, and it was really because of the enthusiasm of the people here in Niagara, their excitement, and their advocacy that this grassroots movements changed the course of the government's policy. And as a result, in 1964, Brock University opened its doors to its first class, less than 150 students. So the bond between Niagara Communities and Brock. It has existed since its founding and still exists. When Brock signed a strategic mandate agreement with the Government of Ontario 2 years ago, we told the province that one of our 3 top strategic priorities was to be a partner who helps in the intellectual, cultural, social, and economic development of our region, and we strive to do that in many ways. For example, Brock is the largest importer of young men and women into Niagara. I say that because 75% of our students come from outside Niagara. In fact, many of them come from outside of Canada. Annually, about 2,000 international students from around the world attend Brock University. And by the way, there are several hundred students from your community at Brock University as well. And of course, you just honored one of our incoming students, Annie Berg, who played for Team Canada in the recent Under-18 Women's World Hockey Championship. We're very happy to have Annie as one of our future students and one of our future varsity athletes. And I know that one of the things that that led to Annie's choice of Brock over other alternatives was that we really value a high-quality education as well as high-quality athletics. Getting back to Brock's relationship with our community, just the sheer physical presence of a university is going to have an impact on the surrounding communities. For instance, Brock is one of the region's largest employers, providing full and part-time employment annually to more than 5,000 people. Or consider these figures. Brock's payroll, $200 million annually. We pay nearly $10 million a year in local taxes and utilities. We spend more than $10 million a year in purchased services, much from local suppliers. We spend $13 million a year on repairs and maintenance of our buildings and vehicles and roads and facilities. As well, Brock's 18,500 students themselves, on their own, inject another $336 million or so into the Niagara economy every year, paying rents, buying groceries, and so on. When you consider that 75% of our students are from outside the region, most of that money would not come to our region were it not for the university. Transportation infrastructure also benefits. Last year, Brock students put nearly $3 million into the operating budgets of Niagara's transit systems. And of course, the university, helped by generous partners in the community and in government, brings world-class facilities to Niagara. Right now, we are on the verge of breaking ground in the next few months for a new $22 million expansion of our Goodman School of Business, providing bigger and more state-of-the-art facilities for them. That was made possible by a $10 million investment from the Ontario government, as well as generous donations from the school's namesake, Ned Goodman, and from other supporters. Other major Brock projects in recent years have included the Cairns Family Health and Bioscience Research Complex at a cost of $120 million. And of course, as you referenced it, the beautiful new home for the Marilyn I. Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts in downtown St. Catharines, a $45 million project. The new Walker School in Central St. Catharines is not only a center of academic excellence, but an example of how a community and its university can collaborate to benefit the whole region. Brock needed new arts facilities, and instead of putting it on the hill on our main campus, we had the opportunity to help revitalize one of Niagara's urban centers and also move our region further in transforming its economy. But beyond economic links, also important are the cultural and social engagements between the university and our communities. The nature of these partnerships ranges from sophisticated research projects to old-fashioned elbow grease of students doing volunteer work. Most people don't realize that every year, Brock students and staff dedicate thousands of hours to community initiatives and service, including such things as helping people get out of poverty, or help children become confident and successful, or help new businesses get started, or helping existing businesses get stronger. There are a few other examples to give a sense of the scope of Brock's outreach beyond our campus. Many of you will know our Cool Climate Enology and Viticulture Institute, COVI. Lincoln grape growers and winemakers are well aware of what Covey scientists do for their grape and wine industry. A new study by outside consultants found that Covey's services and research programs had an economic benefit of $58 million to the grape and wine industry in 2014-15 alone. The Vine Alert program, that in itself helps growers avoid devastating vine losses to extreme cold. Brock supports this industry, meaning supporting its families, the employment that it provides, by extension supporting the tourism industry that comes every year to visit our wineries. In another type of activity, the Brock Center for Health and Well-Being involves area residents, especially seniors, in hosting programs that encourage health recovery and broadband approach to well-being for seniors. Niagara is a retirement destination, as we know, and this type of outreach not only helps people live full lives, but eases the burdens and backlogs on our health system, and, I might add, is building a new industry of healthy retirees here in our region. There will be many private businesses, I think, evolving over the next 20 years to help retirees live better and healthier lives. More examples. Brock's student groups constantly help local not-for-profits and fundraisers, advocating, giving their support. Last year, the Goodman School of Business raised more than $10 million for charities. I mean, their students did, like the 5 Days for the Homeless and Jumpstart. In 2014-15, it was calculated that Brock students contributed nearly 80,000 volunteer hours to causes across Niagara. And last year, we created the Brock Principals Award, which offers 2 $5,000 scholarships for every high school across Niagara in all of its communities, to be given by its principals to 2 students who are not only exhibit academic excellence, but a long history of community engagement. We want those students to stay in Niagara. We want to provide them with a university education, and we want to continue to nurture their involvement in the community so that they can be our future community leaders. Another example of community outreach is the Next Gen Municipal Leadership Program. Run by Brock's Goodman School of Business, Next Gen has helped more than 100 municipal managers in Niagara, from some supervisors, fire chiefs, grow their planning and leadership skills. Over the years, Lincoln has sent 12 managers through the program, one of the leading participants among all of Niagara's municipalities. Brock also works to develop tomorrow's leaders. Numerous classes from St. John's, St. Mark, 20 Valley schools have taken part in Brock's Discovery Leadership programs. As well, St. John's students have visited our campus for a new robotics discovery program. And we have dozens of Lincoln youths participating in Brock's STEAM program. STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And this new after-school program is aimed at encouraging Niagara youth to enrich their skills in creativity, critical thinking, and cooperation. And also last year, 45 youth from Lincoln attended our Youth University summer programs. Of course, the relationship between Brock and Lincoln is a two-way street, and we are sincerely grateful for the support that comes to the university from citizens of Lincoln. I know that generous Lincoln donors are responsible for supporting a number of scholarships and programs that make a big difference in the life of our university and the life of our students. The bottom line is, all of these examples are evidence of the participation and partnership that Brock cherishes with our host communities. And we continue to work together in order to make important progress in the development of our region. On a personal note, I suspect that this will be my last opportunity to address this council and other councils in Niagara this year, because my term as president comes to an end on June 30th. It has been a very great pleasure and honor working with the mayors across the region and with councillors and with all the staff in our municipalities for nearly 10 years as president of Brock University. I hope and I believe that the relationship between Brock and the Niagara communities will only get better and better in the years ahead under my successor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lightstone. And let me say that when I first met you, I believe that the most remarkable trait that I observed was the fact that You are so inclusive. And I believe that the programs that you describe to us tonight and the success of them is because you have really stretched out in many, many ways to include the communities in the Brock experience, even if we're not there on the campus, even if we're dreaming of a campus in our own communities. We have a very important role to play with Brock University in regard to our Center of Excellence for Agriculture. And we've been working on it. We've been talking with different stakeholders. But innovation and technology, science, the impact on the growing of wines and the stabilization of vines in this area is extremely important. There will be many, many reasons for us to work with you in the future. Brock will be one of our main partners in that experience for certain. I'm just going to ask the councillors if they have questions or comments of Dr. Lightstone. Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Mr. Mustachi, I believe I'm saying his name correctly, Reno Mustachi from the region, from the Planning Department, was here talking to Economic Development Committee a couple of weeks ago, and he made reference to plans to create a health corridor between Brock and McMaster and the University of Buffalo. Can you comment on that?
Certainly. Several months ago, McMaster, Brock, and the University of Buffalo signed a memorandum of understanding to create an innovation corridor in the areas of bioscience and health science. As you know, McMaster has one of Canada's premier medical schools and does a great deal of medical research. We do a lot of health science research as well, and a lot of bioscience research. And the University of Buffalo is another powerhouse in medical research too. A great deal of economic development is coming out of bioscience and health research these days. They are spinning off companies. And what we hope to be able to do over the coming years is to create a binational corridor for the nurturing of this innovation and for the translation of these discoveries into new enterprises by taking advantage of the fact that we straddle the border so that we can get these new companies operating simultaneously on both sides of the border, satisfying the jurisdictional requirements on both sides of the border, doing medical trials on both sides of the border. And we feel that this would be very attractive to investors and to entrepreneurs, because if they work with us, the Troika of universities, they will immediately have access to the entire North American market, having addressed all of the regulatory requirements in both Canada and the United States.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much. That's very exciting.
Dr. Lightstone, do you have a question? Councillor Foster.
Yes, thank you, and thank you very much for coming in this evening. This is great. One of the things that universities do really, really well, and I have relatives that are involved with McMaster as well, is that they're really good at teaching facilities, and you're joining together with the other universities to go down the road with that. And one of the things, just, as you're going out of your tenure and into the next, one of the things that I think universities should do more of is outreach to municipalities such as ours, and to say to us, this is what we need you guys to do to help us, okay, or to make things better type of thing. Because we're all essentially governments in some form or another. At least we're all serving the public service. But sometimes there seems to be in society these little silos that are going on, and I sometimes think universities are one of those areas that need to sort of say, guys, we really want to bring Niagara forward, and all of you municipalities, here's what it is that we need to do, what it is that we need to do. So it's just always been sort of my ongoing thinking in this area. So anyway.
I think, first of all, I think your remarks are absolutely well taken. I think Brock has made a point over the last decade of seriously reaching out into the community in multifaceted ways, including municipalities. But I think you speak to a larger point, and that is when one looks at the development that we wish to see here in Niagara, we are all in the same boat. Every municipality in the region, right? We're all on this ship together, and we need to, and that includes all of the other partners, the chambers, and the university, and Niagara College. And I do believe that ultimately we can only plan our future development as a team, and I think. Her Worship has heard me say this many times, and Brock remains and will be a committed partner in that team.
Dr. Lightstone, I've also heard you speak to the issue of jobs creation and investment, more specifically investment, potentially by the parents of foreign students that come to this area that may not know it very well. And I've also heard you speak, and I've heard the president of the Students' Union speak to the importance of GO. Could you just elaborate on those two items, please?
Sure. Let me start with GO first.
Okay.
First from the university's perspective, and then perhaps from the sort of regional perspective. From the university's perspective, as I've mentioned in my speech, 75% of our students come from outside Niagara. And that is, in itself, one of the elements of Niagara's emerging economy. When Brock University and Niagara College attract people here for 4 or more years of education, that's like attracting any other clients to our region. So to us, we have a huge pool of our in which we recruit students is to the west of here. If you consider 25% of our students come from Niagara, fine. 65% of our students come from outside Niagara, but are domestic Canadian students. 40% of our students come from the GTA. If you extend that to the GTHA and throw in Hamilton, it's closer to 50% of our students. So the GO service becomes a conduit for attracting more students to Brock, for making it easier and, by the way, less expensive for students to come to Brock, because if they can commute daily, they're not incurring the costs of living away from home. And so I think GO from the university's perspective is absolutely essential. From the region's perspective, and I had an occasion to mention this in Hamilton the other night when I made a presentation to the consultations for the next provincial budget. I took the opportunity to talk about Brock, but I also took the opportunity to talk about the importance of GO to the region. And I think the reality of the Greater Golden Horseshoe will never really fully materialize unless we are connected here in Niagara to the rest of the Golden Horseshoe, so that the easy movement in public transportation of talent, because that's really what's most important, can freely happen all the way from Durham County through the GTA, through Hamilton, ourselves, and to the American border.
Very good.
The first issue, if you'll remind me, Your Worship.
Well, it was an economic development issue because it related to the kind of investment and the interest that the parents, some of the parents of students have. And when I first heard you speak about it, I hadn't really considered that was
Sure.
a very viable kind of a situation. But I think I've heard you mention it 2 or 3
Yes.
times now. I'm beginning to believe that it.
Yes,
the way to
and if
go.
I can elaborate with some examples, actually. So we have 2,000 students, international students at Brock. About half of them come from China. 2 things happen. One is they build an ongoing relationship with our region by attending Brock. This is their alma mater. They remember it fondly. And the other thing that is now happening is that their parents or they themselves looking to invest outside of China are looking for places to invest, and they go to where they know people, where they, in our case, have lived for a while, are comfortable, and we are beginning to see the first inklings of either our former students or their parents looking for investment opportunities in the Niagara region. Last year, I had a former student of ours, a man named Michael He, who works is a manager in one of the largest state-owned import-export companies in China. He made a visit just because he was in Canada on business and came to Niagara to visit us and visit his former professors. And he said, I want to bring Niagara wine to China. Not just ice wine, which is known, but other Niagara wines to China. My company wants to invest in exporting Niagara wine. So and I immediately sent him to the Regional Economic Development Office and said, how can we expedite this? So our international ties are essentially future international business ties.
Simple, but big opportunities.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Lightstone. Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, is there any correspondence? There being no correspondence, no reports. I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Njima, that the minutes of the January 25th, 2016 Finance and Administration Committee, including the confidential addendum thereto, be adopted as circulated. Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Starting out the meeting, I declared a conflict of interest that I reiterated earlier on today in this meeting. We had the BIA come as a delegation and talk about some big plans that they have that Councillor McPherson and Councillor Pachariva have been involved in. There are plans, they're thinking about expanding the BIA boundaries. They are considering hiring a part-time executive director. And they spoke about some concerns that they have with truck traffic that we're all aware of in the downtown Beamsville core. And they talked about a desire to have more off-street parking. So there's going to be more communication with the BIA and the town in the future, and we'll see what's going to be happening there, and a lot of big plans. That's good. Following that, we had a delegation from a resident who had some concerns about a fire department fee that was charged back to them. We asked for a report on that, and we'll be getting more information on that, and we'll be considering that at the next Finance and Admin meeting. We talked about the AMO conference. There's a few of us going to that. Most of us, I'd say, as we usually do. It's a good networking opportunity. We have delegation, or we go and we meet with provincial politicians and talk about what's really important to us there, and they have a good, strong trade show. After that, we're going to be, we asked for a report back about the possibility, or I think we actually committed to creating a code of conduct based on some updates to the Public Sector MPP Accountability and Transparency Act. So we're going to ask for, we asked for a report back to talk about how we would go around creating that, whether we do it ourselves, whether we have somebody else do it for us. But one thing we all agreed on is that this should be something that all of council is involved in, because it's going to be quite a learning process. We should really understand the ins and outs of having a code of conduct and what it means to us. We renewed our fire dispatch service agreement to 2017. All of our fire dispatch takes for most of the Niagara region takes place out of St. Catharines. We renewed that, and there's going to be some changes, I think, going on how they do their fire dispatch, but that won't be happening until probably 2017. So we renewed it, and in the meantime, those changes will take place. And other than that, we talked about some purchases that we had discussed in detail in the budget process. And then under councillor inquiries, we talked about our CAO is going to come back, is going to bring us a report back about reviewing our current reporting practices and how we set up agendas and how we can be more effective in that way. And finally, we accepted with regret the resignation of Mr. Murray Clough from the Library Board, and we wish him well. And we're going to be advertising, I believe, for another member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Councillor Njima? Nothing, no questions at all regarding the items that were noted. Your pleasure on the motion. Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Njima. There's no confirmation of compliance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. There are no bylaws. Is there any notice of motion? There being none, item number 16 is announcements. I have one announcement regarding Property Standards Open House on February 22nd. I'll just remind the public of that. On February the 22nd, here in the council chambers, as part of the Finance and Administration Committee, bylaw number CS 15-32, which is the property standards bylaw for the town of Lincoln, will be presented for public input. There are significant changes. I would warn the public of this, and it's very important that you attend and have your say. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Foster that council adjourn to closed session in order to address a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, a matter pertaining to an unsolicited request to purchase municipal land. Questions? Councillor Njima.
I'm sorry, I had a couple of announcements and I didn't get my hand up fast enough.
Apologies. My apologies.
And thank
I'll
you,
wait.
thank you, Mary Easton, for bringing up the public hearing on the 22nd. There's also going to be a public information center on February 9th in council chambers regarding the property standards bylaw as well.
So 2 meetings, February 9th for the Public Information Center.
Right, which is the sort of casual sort of interaction that you can come and ask questions. And then the formal hearing will be during the Finance and Administration Committee meeting on February 22nd.
Okay, very good.
And I have another announcement from the Chamber. We've unfortunately, our longtime Executive Director of the Chamber, Kathy McNiven, is retiring as of June 30th after 25 years. We're very thankful for all her years of service, and we're very sorry to see her go. And again, that's June 30th. She'll be retiring. There's a business after 5 at Conversations Cafe. That's Tuesday, February 16th from 5 to 7. Bring your business cards, and you can bring a door prize if you want. And on February 19th is the Politicians' Breakfast that the Chamber's putting on. That is at 7:15 at the Beacon Harbour side. Your Worship, Sandra Easton will be there, our CAO, Mike Kirkopoulos, Dean Allison, Tim Hudak, and Regional Councillor Bill Hodgson. You can reserve your tickets on the website, which is lincolnchamberofcommerce.ca. Thank you.
Very good. On this side, nothing? Thank you very much. I'll read this motion then again. Moved by Councillor Timmers, seconded by Councillor Foster, that council adjourn to closed session in order to address a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, a matter pertaining to an unsolicited request to purchase municipal land. Are there any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. We'll adjourn to the Beamsville room.